One of the greatest things about being a hunter and being somebody in the hunting community is the opportunity to be able to reach out to so many people who share the same passions as I do. This is certainly true today with my conversation with Dr. Brooks Tiller from Nashville, Tennessee. He is a physical therapist in the Nashville area, and we have a great conversation about passing down traditions of hunting and sharing our love for the outdoors and sharing our love for hunting with our family and with our friends, and of course we touch on being a helpful member of your community. So thank you guys for listening today to the Rice Elite podcast. I know you guys are going to love my conversation with Dr. Brooks Tiller. Before we get to that, I want to ask you guys to go ahead and connect with me on my social media accounts. On Instagram, you can find me at the handle at Eat. On Facebook, you can find me at the URL facebook.com/RKEafield. That'll send you to our page entitled Rice Kill Eat. Then I'm also on Twitter at the Twitter handle at RKEafield. So be sure to connect with me on there. Also, if you like what you hear today with my conversation with Dr. Brooks Tiller, then leave me a rating and a review. So these ratings and reviews, they do go a long way in being able to help us organically promote the Rice Kill Eat podcast and being able to help us climb the charts in the quote unquote podcast world. And there's so many different podcasts out there, and there's so many great resources out there for people who loves God, freedom, in the great outdoors. And of course, it's my goal of this podcast, of the Rice Elite podcast, to be able to continue to offer the resources that I have and the thoughts that I have and the ideas and the conversations that I share with people, with as many people as possible. So your ratings and reviews allow me to continue to do just that. So the majority of you guys I know are listening on Apple Podcasts, which has a great review and rating system. So you just scroll down to the bottom, click 5 stars, click 4 stars, or whatever you feel, or whatever honest opinion that you have about the Rice Elite podcast. Type in a little review and let me know. If you would, go ahead and send me a screenshot at ricekilleatpodcast@gmail.com. Send me a screenshot of that rating and review, and we may have something a little special for you that we will send to you. So do that, and that would be greatly appreciated. And it's, like I said, it's a great way for us to organically get the Rice Elite podcast into as many people's ears as possible. So thank you. So again, I have a great conversation today with Dr. Brooks Tiller of the Nashville, Tennessee area. I hope you guys enjoy my episode today with Dr. Brooks Tiller, and sit back and check out episode number 40. Man, it's hard to believe we're already at 40. So enjoy episode number 40 of the Rice Kill Eat podcast with Dr. Brooks Tiller. Of course, I appreciate you being on the Rice Kill Eat podcast with me, and this is pretty cool to be able to contact you, especially through this crazy time right now, and this time period, man. It's weird. I think it's gonna be looking back on it, and hopefully a year or so, we're gonna look back on it and have a lot of things to learn, a lot of things to kind of take away from it. But
yeah,
what's this look like for you right now,
man? Right now it's been a little different, a little odd as everything's been going on. Seems like I've actually been working more. It's kind of crazy, but a lot of other PTs have been sick. A lot of other PTs have been either immunocompromised. One guy, he had a heart surgery about a year ago, so his heart doctor said, "You've got to take 3 months off. I don't want you. You're at a high risk." And so, oddly, I've had a lot of people calling me because I do most of my PT is kind of for hire, gun for hire, and they have called, "Hey, we need help. We need help. We need help." And so I've actually been busier, in this whole pandemic than normal, and I feel really blessed for that because my wife, we have a circus entertainment company, and we're downtown Nashville 3 to 4 times a week entertainment. Well, there's no entertainment now. So that went, in early March, that went from just banana sandwich crazy to nothing in about a 2-week period. And so now, it's just been, I've been blessed that I've actually, as a PT, been busier. It's kind of one of those, whenever you're able to have that ace in your back pocket, if you will, or just that another form of revenue. We always hear about, oh, you need multiple forms of revenue if you have your own business, or have a, whether, hey, if you can go mow a yard, you can make money, that
Right.
kind of thing. And so, I think right now is one of those times I've been feel blessed that I'm able to do that. But it's been crazy because whenever I go in, normally during flu season and things like that, I take precautions not to bring anything home, not to take anything in. But right now, it's even higher precautions because I have two young kids. My mother is she has some lung issues, and I don't want and I don't want to get anybody sick that I'm working with if I go into a nursing home. But then I don't want to get anybody sick at home either, and so it's just getting kind of crazy. I'm wearing protective mask, and I'm changing clothes in the parking lot, and even doing like a spit bath in the parking lot, washing my hair and everything, just scrubbing down in the parking lot, and try to find a little corner where I can hide out and scrub down, change clothes, get home, and as soon as I get home, I strip outside, and I'll either shower in the backyard, or with the hose pipe, or I'll run in the house and shower off here, and then I'll be like, hey, I'm home, and then I play with the kids and stuff like that. But it's been really crazy, just a lot of thinking about what am I doing? How am I going to make sure and keep everybody safe? Because once again, you don't want to carry anything into the nursing home, because that if you go to a nursing home, everybody there is already sick, already compromised and hurting. And if you do that, that's here in Tennessee. That's where like half of the deaths have come from nursing homes. And so, the people there are already sick. Everybody there is already sick. So it's like a wildfire. If you get a disease in there, it spreads because everybody eats together, they commune together. You got two or three people in a room and they're all sharing the same air, and it's going to spread crazy. So I'm trying to make sure I don't take anything in, don't bring anything out. And it's been crazy times, but I try to look at the good side of it. It's been great that I've had the opportunity to still be able to work, and blessed for that. But also, I've seen both sides of it. I've been in there working, but I've also just got back from visiting my wife's grandmother who's in the nursing home. And there we were on the outside waving in, hey, how are you? And trying to talk to her through a window. And it was odd for me because I'm normally the guy inside working with them, and I'm not the guy outside, waving. So it's been strange times, but, just I'm grateful for everything, that everybody's healthy that I know. And I know that it's a tough time, and, there's some controversy to it and everything. But, I think overall, as the good book says, we need to look out for others as well as ourselves. And I think that, right now is one of those times where, we take the precautions, we take care of us, we take care of those we love, and then we look to others and see if we can help them in any way.
Yeah, exactly. I think this whole thing, I think it's done just exactly what you said. I think it's really brought a whole lot of communities together, and you've seen people from all walks of life coming together and trying to help the people that are around them, and whether it could be dropping off food at a food bank, or it could be raising money to help somebody who has lost their job. And it's been of course, the scenario that everything is kind of played out in is, of course, not ideal, and it's crazy that we even have to have this conversation. How quickly everything happened, but the fact that communities have come together and there's been people taking care of each other and looking out for each other, and you know it's kind of refreshing. It kind of gives you a restoration of humanity. I mean, I think there's been a lot of negatives to it, but of course, like you were saying, there's a lot of positives, and I think it's done a lot for, like what you were saying, with people who are having some issues with work, because it's allowed people to invest in different skill sets than what they normally have. Like you were saying, with if you can mow a yard, you can make money. I mean, I think a lot of people, their usual way of making money, it may have been taken away, or it may have been something may have happened to it, or it may be furloughed, or whatever the issue may be. And it's a kind of push people, but I think in a healthy way, because it's allowed them to kind of invest in new skills, and it's given them an opportunity, potentially to be able to do something that they weren't able to do before, or do something that they want to do. They're able to, could potentially be able to pursue new passions that they necessarily may not have been able to do in the past.
Exactly. And I think right now, I mean, as an outdoorsman, we're in the 4% that might have food in the freezer, that we're not paying $8 for a
Yeah.
pack of meat. And even in that, there's the old lady that you know from church, or the guy that lives down the street that may not hunt or may be too old to hunt, whatever. You could offer them, hey, can I help? Even if it's just a giving and you're being generous, hey, let me mow your yard, let me help you out with this, let me take your trash out, whatever it may be. And you could help them, but you go, hey, let me give you some meat. And that's a great way to also introduce people to the outdoors. But I think that right now it's that time where we can, I guess, and even if it comes to work, if you've been getting up for the past 8 years, man, I hate this job. And now you realize, like, all right, I hated my job. And now you've got, you might have some time where you can get online, or do something, figure out something else that you'd rather do. You would take an online class or something because you're not working. So you, through all this, I always try to look for the positive. Is you might find a new profession. You might find something that you're more passionate about. You might find something that you like to do whenever you used to hate your job, whatever it may be. But whatever it is, you always have to look at the good side, the positive side, and just try to find the best in every day that we have on this earth.
Definitely, I think you hit the nail on the head again. And it's just, there's always those moments whenever, bad things are starting to happen, and it's so easy to get blinded by all the craziness and all the nastiness that's surrounding you. But there's I'm a firm believer that there's always something good that can come out of something bad. And even like we were saying before, the Bible, it tells us all about how God is going to turn these things into something good. And it may not necessarily be something that we are expecting. Like, it may not be the thing that we think is going to be good. It could be something totally different, but it's all going to end up being good. It's all going to be something that we can learn from. It's going to be something that's going to be, I think, beneficial in the long run. And you were mentioning how, having food in the freezer, like, that's been such a huge blessing for a lot of people, especially like you were saying with hunters and outdoorsmen and stuff. We are finishing up right now as I speak. Actually, we have the last little bit of deer from last fall in the fridge right now, and that's been such a huge blessing for my family, and being able to gift that to people, and people gifting it to me. And it's been a cool experience to being able to have that freedom, and what we eat, and being able to have that freedom to be able to acquire our own meat. Because at a time, especially when everything was kind of starting to go down about 2 months ago, there was a time where the meat departments in the grocery stores, it was bare. Like, they were putting limits on how much you could take home, and a lot of times it wasn't quite enough to even get a family of four or family of five through a meal. And as a hunter, having that freedom to be able to go out and get the meal, go out and get the meat that we need to be able to sustain, and just being able to eat dinner. It's so invigorating. I know that's something that you can relate with.
Oh, definitely, because having meat in the freezers is a great benefit for us all. And it's also a time I really think that we can share, like you said, share with others. And in this time right now, I think a lot of people are seeing folks like, oh, like they may be calling us, hey, do you have some deer meat? Because there's none at the store. They don't let me have one pack of meat at the store. Or even then, you've got people that are wanting to buy guns. And that may have 6 months ago asked us, why do you have a gun? There's no reason to have a gun. And now people are buying guns. And I think that, that's an opportunity, instead of sitting back and saying, "Ha ha," you should have learned earlier. We can now step back and say, "Hey, I've got an extra couple packs of deer meat, or turkey, or fish, whatever it may be," and say, "Hey, would you like some?" And then whenever they take that, it's an opening door to share the outdoors with other people. And even right now, fish are biting. If somebody is, like, hey, they may not have a lot of meat in the freezer, you go catch a mess of fish and you can take a couple to them that are already filleted and everything. You can just take it over and, hey, here's some fish. You can bake it, you can grill it, whatever you want to do, but here it is. And then if they say, man, that was really good, then there's your door open to say, hey, well, would you like to go? And
Yeah.
and if even if you want to practice that social distance, hey, meet me at the lake. We'll sit 8 feet apart, but I'll show you how to do it. That kind of thing. And you can introduce someone to the outdoors just through a simple gesture of kindness. And I think, and it's the same way with our spiritual life as well. As it's once you're out there, you can talk about the creator and what he made and all that, and it's just kind of all ties in together. It's like all this is made for us to enjoy, and here we are, like, but and then there's that open door. Once someone starts getting outdoors, I think there's another gateway right there, just to, hey, there's a God, and he's made all this for you to enjoy. And once again, it's just that snowball rolling down the right side of the hill that we need to chase down.
Absolutely. You'll get bitten by the outdoors bug pretty quickly, getting out there and catching your own fish and getting your own meat and that kind of thing. And, of course, everybody has an introduction into hunting and an introduction into the outdoors. Mine was, I was first introduced by my dad, and then I had a good friend of mine once I moved to the town that I'm living in now that started taking me out and doing some hunting and different styles of hunting, different species and that kind of thing, introduced me to all kinds of different stuff. And what did that look like for you? How did you actually end up getting into hunting? Who was it that first established that passion for you?
It was my dad. And growing
Yeah.
up, hunting was one of those things that we did. It was funny that, looking back, my granddad, my uncles, my cousins, everybody knew, like, man, the Tiller clan, they hunt. The Tiller clan, if you want to know how to hunt, go talk to them. And my granddad was the patriarch, and it was interesting that even a lot of the game wardens in the area, they would come to my granddad and ask advice and things like that. I'd pop into my granddad's house, and him and the game warden sitting on the front porch talking.
That's
And
awesome.
and it wasn't, and it was one of those things where, my granddad, he would tell stories of growing up and, hunting squirrels, and, I mean, eating possums and coons and groundhogs and all kinds of things, that just because, growing up around the Depression, that's what you did to feed your family.
Yeah.
Anything you could find, you pretty much ate. And he would talk about how, that if you saw a deer during deer season, that was a big accomplishment, because there weren't that many. And, and he could tell you all about all the deer that he killed and everything. And it was great. But I grew up learning from my dad, my granddad, my uncles. It was just a family thing. And from the time I can remember, we would go rabbit hunting. And there were times when I would be the dog. I was too small to even hold a shotgun, but I had the briar-proof breeches and a jacket, and I would, and I was little, so I could kind of get through the briars and things like that, everybody else had to kind of, stomp through, and I could kind of weasel my way through there. And they'd shoot a couple of rabbits, and then that night we would get to eat rabbit. And so it was one of those things. It was a great sense of accomplishment, and grew up fishing. We would always go fishing every summer, and it'd be me and my dad, my granddad, in a boat fishing, or me and some buddies. We would go fishing, whatever. But ever since I can remember, 3, 4 years old, I was out in the woods, deer hunting, and with them, squirrel hunting, rabbit hunting, fishing all summer long. And it was just one of those things that I remember vividly. It's always been a part of my life, and always been a part of who I am and what I do.
Yeah, I think that story is so familiar with a lot of people that I've talked to, and with myself as well. It's just we always have those typically men before us, the grandfathers and the dads that introduced us to hunting, and I think there's something to that. I think it's literally God has put that into our DNA to get out into the woods and be the provider and be the person that's going to bring the meat home, regardless of what it is. If it's possum, beaver, deer, turkeys, whatever that meat is. And it's just, and I think that's reinforced whenever we actually get to go out and do it. because that feeling that I have, I mean, at least for me personally, the feeling I have whenever I, send the text to my wife, like, I got a deer, we got one down, bringing it home, and the excitement that my kids get whenever they know that dad's bringing a deer home or a turkey home or something. I think that's something that you don't really teach that, and it's something that I think it's so raw and it's so real, and I honestly believe that God has created us in a way to view Him through creation. I know you were kind of getting into that a minute ago, and view Him through His creation, and I think that's such a cool experience to be able to have those relationships with grandparents and with dads, and even a lot of moms nowadays are introducing their kids to hunting, and it's really cool to actually be able to be a part of that. And I love the hunting community, and being able to reach guys like you, and being able to reach all these people that are out there doing what we love to do. And I think it's just a really cool experience to be able to do all that kind of stuff, and that's awesome.
It is, and like you said, you talking about moms. My mom grew up on a
Yeah.
farm, and what's interesting is whenever it was wintertime and it was rabbit season, we would go to my mom's dad's farm. We'd go to me and my dad and his dad, my grandpa. Me, dad, and Pawpaw would go to my Pawpaw's farm, and we would hunt rabbits there. And it was interesting because I had both sides of my grandparents and both parents all there at one spot with aunts and uncles and cousins, and everybody else, and we would hunt rabbits. But my mom might bring over some deer meat, and we would just have a big feast, and we might have fresh rabbit, cooked up right there on the spot on the farm that we just took from the farm. And so it was a whole family affair, and it's been great. My mom, she doesn't hunt a lot, but she has hunted some, but but she loves to fish, and she's always been a great help. And when it comes to encouraging us to get outside and go do something, so I think it's really big. Like you said, it's right now, and sadly, a lot of guys, a lot of kids don't have a dad, and sadly, moms feel like they have to do the role of mom and dad, and they have to be there.
Yeah.
And I think that's another reason during this whole pandemic is if a single mom and they got a couple kids, invite the kid to go out and give mom a break because mom's homeschooling, mom's working, mom's doing all this other stuff. I'm sure that they would welcome you get taking a kid out in the woods and letting them burn off some of that energy. So it's just another way that we can get people involved.
It really is. It really is. I'm glad you mentioned that too, because that's a tough situation for a single parent to be in, a single mom to be in. And fortunately, that's not something I necessarily have firsthand experience with, but that's something I have seen other people have to experience. I'm a teacher full time, so seeing the single parents that are having to raise, 3, 4, 5 kids at a time by themselves while they're working one or two jobs or three jobs, or it's a tough situation to be in. And, going back to what we were talking about before, as far as like helping in the community, I mean, that's you got it right there. Is give them give them an opportunity to take a break, because they're definitely going to welcome it. And if you can do that hunting, even better. Fishing right now, even better. And it's going to be beneficial for just about everybody. It's going to be, of course, beneficial for the mom that's going to have all these kids at home, and it's going to be beneficial for the kids because they're going to learn something new that they're probably not getting exposure to. And of course, it's going to be beneficial for you as well, because I mean, the best way, I'm a firm believer that the best way to learn something is by teaching it. So whenever you get it out there and you're showing these kids how to do things, you're gonna learn something through that process as well. And that's really cool that you mentioned that.
Oh, definitely. And that's, I mean, in medical school, that was one of those you see one, you do one, you teach one. And that was just kind of the
Yeah,
process that we went through is, you saw somebody do it, then you did it yourself, and then you would teach somebody. And that's really a great way to do everything.
it definitely is. It's interesting you mentioned medical school. So how have you used that knowledge of human physiology, and use the knowledge of biology and how we operate, as people? How have you used that knowledge to be able to make you a better hunter, a better outdoorsman? How have you used your knowledge to, uh, expound upon being a hunter and an outdoorsman?
I mean, Tyler, it's one of those things where if you knew then what you know now, is really kind of how it, I guess, would be the best way for me to. So my undergrad degree is in actually environmental science. My plan was to be a wildlife biologist or game warden or something of that sort. But then I realized after I got out of school, did a little internship, I realized that if you're a game warden, you don't get to hunt and fish very much because you're trying to catch bad guys breaking the law, hunting and fishing. So,
Right.
and I
Yeah.
love to hunt and fish. So I was like, I don't know if I want to do this or not. And in all that whole process, I realized that, the human body, nutrition, health, I was real big. And I played baseball through college. And then after I got out of college, I was still doing a lot of different sports and things. And I was like, man, I love the human body, getting better, challenging myself. And then, so I ended up going to physical therapy school. I got my doctorate in physical therapy. And the whole time, my goal was to work with the top level athletes, to work with the best athletes that I could find, to work with professional teams at Olympic level. And I was blessed that I was able to reach that pretty quick, just using the skills I learned and able to, the knowledge I knew from being an athlete myself. I was able to travel the world working with the top level athletes. And in between, a stint overseas, and I came back and I was working, helping out at a clinic here locally. And a guy came in that reminded me of my granddad. And he told me that he wanted to improve his strength because he wanted to be able to take his grandkids fishing. And that just really hit home to me. And it was one of those things that I realized that instead of working with a bunch of high profile athletes so I can say, look what I did, I really turned my focus to, I want to help the guys like my granddad. So I lost my granddad when I was 17. He passed away, and he was a big influence in my life. Like I said, he and my dad were the ones that took me fishing. We were like the three amigos all the time, just best friends hanging out. But when I met this guy, I was like, I can't bring my grandfather back. I can't go back and teach him all the stuff that I know, but I can share what I know with other people. I can share that with those grandpas and the fathers that are out of shape, that need some help, so that they have more time with their kids and grandkids in the woods or fishing. And that's really when my whole mind shift focused. And from there, it was right around that time I was a strength coach. I took a job as a strength coach at a college. I was working as a physical therapist, and I've been traveling a lot, and I was like, man, I just miss being in the woods. I miss that. And combine all that together, meeting this guy, and then I went to a strength coach seminar, and they were talking about finding your niche. Who are the people that you would work for free, that you would do things for free? Well, what do you want to do? And it was like, I mean, I want to work with guys that want to hunt and fish. And it was kind of surprising. Some people was like, well, you got all these famous people. I was like, who cares if they're famous? Like, I want to work
Mhm.
with the guys who love to hunt and fish, and make sure they can hunt and fish as much as they want to. And so that's really where the whole healthy hunter came from, is developing that mindset to myself of, I want to help the guys who want to hunt and fish. And so ever since then, it's just been my main focus of taking anything that I've learned personally, through my own background, but also through the nerd stuff in the journals and the school of medical school. What have I learned that I can pass on to other people? And the more I've been able to do that, it's just been so rewarding, not only to me, but see other people. Whenever all of a sudden, the guy's able to shoot his bow, or the guy's able to take his kids fishing, or, you know, a guy's able to drop 60 pounds to go on an elk hunt, and something that he never thought he'd be able to do. And those are the kind of things that really light me up. And I think it's, once again, it's about finding the thing that is your thing to do. And what is it that you're put here on earth to do? And I think that is the big key, is what were you put here to do? And I think I've found mine whenever it comes to helping outdoorsmen just live better, healthier lives.
Yeah, I think, in the society that we live in, everybody's always looking for, that fame. They want their fame. They want to be connected to somebody that's famous. Or I guess I shouldn't say everybody. I think a lot of people, they want that notoriety, I guess, of being connected to somebody famous or being famous themselves or something. And on the concrete level, we're all just people. Like, we are all people trying to live lives, and that's really cool that you have, reprioritize what you wanted to do. I guess I don't know. I wouldn't say reprioritize. I guess you found your actual priority of
Yeah.
how you wanted to pursue your career, and you're helping these people who have be elderly. They could be people who have lived a lot of their life, but they want to continue to live life, and they don't want to just give up. So it's awesome that you have prioritized taking them under your wing, and you know taking care of them so that they are able to continue living that life, doing something as simple as taking their grandkids fishing. Like, that's something that so many people, they take for granted. And it's actually interesting that you mentioned that, because my dad, he passed away. It was October of last year. So to sit here and to listen to you tell that story, and the reality is, like, my dad, of course, isn't going to be able to take his grandkids fishing, because it's not something that he was able to experience, and a lot of it was because of health related issues. So to hear that story, it really touches me differently, because I was able to experience that. And I was fortunate enough to be able, as a little kid, to be able to go fishing with my grandpa, and be able to go fishing with my dad. And my dad was, of course, the one that introduced me. But to look into the future, and to know that my dad isn't going to be able to take his grandkids fishing, it's pretty crazy that that. And I think it's definitely worthy of respect that you've gone after a group that a lot of people just simply neglect. They're older at this point. I'm not sure what else they can do, and that kind of thing. And you've gone the complete opposite scenario with them, and you're doing what you can to help them out. That's really cool.
Yeah, I'm one of those guys that I figure if you put a limit on somebody, or if you limit me, if you tell me I mean, I've had people like they'd say you're going to medical school, and they'd say it like you're not that smart. What are you doing? I'm like, all right, fine, I'll show you. And I look at that for everybody. I want to I want everybody to live life to the fullest. I mean, that's what we've been promised, that you can have life and live it to the full. And that's not just sitting in a rocking chair and for the last 20 years of your life. That's You're going out in a blaze of glory. You're going out and you're fishing until your time comes. You're out in the woods until the good Lord says it's your time, let's go. And that's what I want to help other people do. And like you said, with you had your father teach you, but think about if your father wasn't there to teach you, or if your
Right.
grandfather wasn't there to help you, the how big of a difference would that make in your life? Where would you be today? And I think about that for a lot of kids. If they go fishing, or they're or camping or hunting with their dad or their granddad, instead of going to that party, or going over, or instead of going here or going there, instead they're out fishing, it can make a big difference in that one kid's life. And for me, that's really what matters.
Yeah, and I definitely wouldn't be sitting here, of course, talking about hunting. Who knows what the heck I'd be doing right now?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that's cool though, that you've prioritized that group, and it's definitely worthy of respect to be able to do that. But I wanted to kind of get into how this past spring turkey season went. I know things were kind of crazy with all that's going on in the world. I know for me personally, I was actually able to hunt more, because, like I said, I'm a teacher. So normally throughout the week, I would be, at school, working and that kind of thing. But this year I was teaching from home, and kind of opened up some mornings for me. But, of course, with you, we already kind of got into how you were working more. So how did the Tennessee spring turkey season go for you?
It was good. And normally I take efforts to make sure that I have time in November and December where I have a little extra time off for deer hunting.
Yeah.
and I have a little extra time in April for turkey hunting. It's usually kind of the way I try to plan out, where I work a little extra before and after, and so I have a little bit extra time to, get out there
Heck
and
yeah.
chase turkeys and
There's a
things. And
balance you got to
yeah,
have, right?
exactly. It's like, you work hard, play hard kind of thing, and then sleep hard when you go to bed at night. But for, and then also if I get a chance to go out west, or, to go elk hunting or something like that, I always try to, you always make sure that, you got to pay the bills. And but like I said, for this year, my turkey season was slim, very slim. uh I didn't get a single shot. I heard a couple gobblers, and for me sometimes it's just one of those, you hear that gobbler and I was like, my day's made.
Hmm.
And a few times I would go, I would meet my dad, and we would go, and we would hear a turkey, and but I knew by 8:30 I needed to be on the road to go to a nursing home and work for the day, whatever it may be. And so there were a few days like that where, I only had an hour or two, and just hopefully, man, I just want to see the sunrise. I want to smell the fresh air, and just hear a turkey gobble, and I was happy for, for the week. I'm ready to go. But so I didn't get a shot at a single bird. I saw, I think, one gobbler, two gobblers, one gobbler in the woods and long way away, couldn't, with a bunch of hens, and all I saw was a fan and two ridges over, and I couldn't get to it. And the other gobbler was, it was the closest I got to a gobbler all year. And the situation, we had been fishing. I went fishing with my dad. I took my son, who's 4 years old. We went fishing. We came back, went to my dad's house, and we're cleaning fish. And my son says, "Hey, there's a turkey." And we look across the field, and there's a turkey on the far side of the field, strutting around, big old fan. My son, no shoes, no shirt, nothing. Just, he's like, "Let's go look at the turkey." And we get within like 60 yards of this turkey, and, no shoes, no shirt. We're and just walking across the field. And I mean, and I think the turkey saw me before it saw him, because, he was kind of underneath the brush. But it was one of those things where he just got excited about seeing a turkey and hearing it
Yeah.
gobble. And for me, that's really the big thing. Even though I didn't kill the turkey, we still have some meat in the freezer, and I got to get outside. I got to see the sunrise. I got to hear that turkey gobble, and I got, my son and my dad. I got to spend time with them in the woods, and that's a better trophy to me than any long beard or any antlers I could hang on the wall.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about. I mean, being able to get out and share the experiences of being outside, and especially turkey season. Like, there's something about spring turkey season that I just can't get enough of it. It's probably the gobbles. It's probably the fact that the weather's changing, the earth is waking back up from the dead of the winter, and I don't know. I think there's all kinds of different elements, but spring turkey, man, it's one of those things that for me personally, it's one of my favorite seasons. And being able to share that, like you're saying, with your dad and with your son, that's really cool. And that's cool that he's excited about that. I've got a 4 year old little girl and a 6 year old little boy who, my son, I've taken him with me a few times, and he's all about it. He loves it. And he there's been times where his little feet are cold or his hands are cold, but he doesn't want to tell me because he wants to stay out there, because he's afraid that if he tells me, I'll be like, all right, we need to get home then. That
Yeah.
way it don't get too cold. So he doesn't want to tell me. And then I find out later, walking back to the car, he's like, Dad, my feet are cold. but but yeah, that being able to share that experience with your kids, I mean, that's what it's all about. That's establishing those foundations that, we've talked. It's been kind of a consistent theme throughout our talk today, is that you know establishing those relationships with your family and with people, and establishing that outdoors bug, quote unquote, I guess you could call it. And that's what it's all about. And that's how I think that a lot of people, they get so caught up in social media and what everybody else is doing, who's got the 12-inch bearded tom, and who's got the 180-inch deer, and all that kind of stuff. And of course, there's a time and place for that kind of stuff, but I think at the foundation of why we enjoy getting out and hunting, I think it comes down to what you were getting at right there. It's just getting out there, sharing God's creation with our family, sharing God's creation with our kids, and being able to teach them a lesson in the process. And I think that's really cool that you were able to share that this spring, despite not even be able to pull the trigger. I think that based on what you're telling me, I think you could definitely say that you had a successful season.
Oh yeah, I mean, my dad killed 2 turkeys, so I mean, we got to feast a little bit on some turkey, so we're completely shut out. But and like you said, that's one of those things that you have to. I think, I mean, you're a school teacher, and you probably see this all the time that the kids, don't know where their food comes from,
Yeah.
and that's one thing with mine. Like I've got a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and even my little 2-year-old, she knows what a turkey sounds like, and she'll try to use a call or make a sound if she sees one, or we're talking about turkeys. But they know that there's elk. When we eat elk, that this is the elk that daddy went and shot, or this is the deer. Or even my son, I think one of the ways he really got the bug is we went fishing, and he helped. He, of course, whenever you got a 3 or 4-year-old in the boat, if you catch a fish, they're the one that's going to reel it in, and they're the one that caught
Oh
all
yeah.
the fish. So he caught all the fish, but we cleaned them and we brought them home and we cooked them. And the icing on the cake was, he helped in every process, but
Hmm.
the icing on the cake was when Mama took a bite of that fish and acted like that was the best food she had ever eaten.
Yeah.
She just constant over and over, this is so good, this is the best food ever. He lit up, and it seemed like ever since then, he knows like he's helping provide for the family, and he's, Mama loves the food that I bring home. And that right there has been a big factor, I think, in him wanting to go more and do more. And I just think that's, one way we can get kids involved is show them that, this is feeding our family. And if you've got mama or brother or sister in there and they're loving it and they're wanting more of it, that's going to be a big factor in how excited they are about going the next time.
Definitely. I try to do something very similar. It's like my kids, they love deer meat. They love venison. They love, of course, wild turkey. I mean, who doesn't love wild turkey, right?
Yeah.
But they love it all. And whenever we were sitting there at the dinner table, eating it, I always try to make sure that they know, like, this is the deer that I shot, the one that I sent pictures of, the one we brought home, and you guys stood here and you watched me, process it and everything. This is it right here. And we turned it into this really good meal that we're all enjoying. And involving them in that process is such a cool experience because, like you're saying, it's not, I don't, it's not just kids. I think just in society in general, I think they don't understand, have a good understanding of where their food is coming from. Because whenever you go to the grocery store, you're seeing a brightly colored, saran wrap package that you associate to be, beef or, turkey or chicken or whatever it is. And, at that point it's all cleaned, it's all taken care of. All you have to do is go home, put it in the pan, put it in the skillet, and you're good. And so many people don't see the process that is required, and don't see the I hate to say it, the violence that is required in order to have this meal on our plate. And the whole idea of life eats life, I think, is very true. And I think whenever you have a good appreciation for where your meal's coming from and where your meat's coming from, I mean, I think it just solidifies this connection that we have, with God's creation, this connection that we have. And I think it's something that is certainly important for our kids to know. And it's certainly important for average, everyday person to have a good understanding of.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big thing is just where does it come from? And it's a
Yeah.
hamburger, but no, it's a cow. And
Right.
and I always try to tell my kids is like, this is, you know, whatever fish it is, you try to tell them about it. And and we talk about this is not just a hamburger, this is elk burger, or this is deer burger, and
Right.
and that kind of thing. And so they know where it comes from. It's not just like you said, and people are all the time like, well, why don't you just get your food from the grocery store? Well, right
No
now,
animals were harmed, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, and right now we got this pandemic where if you want to go to the store, they're limiting you to one package of meat, and it's $8 a pound because this big food processing where they actually take all these animals and don't very humanely treat them. Probably they're taking them, and
Hmm.
now they're shut down because of sickness or whatever. It's like, now what are you going to do? And I think that it's good to teach the kids, so at least they know. And and even just getting out hiking and identifying trees, because I think a lot of adults probably don't know. Studies, I've read a study, like there's like only 4 to 5. I think it was a very slim percentage of adults can recognize 4 to 5 natural native plants in their area.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is an oak tree, this is a maple tree, and a lot of people might not be able to know the difference. And I think just instilling that in the kids, and that wonder, that wanting to know more about what's out there it's in them. We just have to sometimes bring it out.
Yeah, absolutely. I can definitely agree with that. And there's so much that that we just don't know, and I think a lot of the conveniences of life have just it's we've lost that idea of wonder and the idea of asking questions and learning about the things around us, and that's of course something that I think everybody should have a good understanding of, and just being able to do basic skills, and like you're saying, just identify plants. And you could even take it a step further and identify edible plants, or just there's all kinds of different things that we could do as far as that goes. And now I want to switch gears on you, because of course we're bumping up on time, and I definitely want to respect your time, but you have the Healthy Hunter podcast. So what's your new podcast show all about? I was checking it out a little bit, kind of preparing for this, and it's pretty awesome, man. So tell listeners what the Healthy Hunter podcast is all about.
Man, I appreciate that. Well, I mean, first off,
Yeah.
if you liked this podcast and me talking about health and fitness, then you'll like it. If you don't like the sound of my voice or anything about health and fitness and hunting or me, then you might not like it. So don't worry about checking it out. But um, it's the focus is really on helping others improve their health and fitness, helping outdoorsmen improve their health and fitness. And that's my whole goal, my whole mission. And it was just another way for me to be able to share the knowledge that I have, as well as tap into the resources that I've garnered over the past 15 years in the health, fitness, physical therapy, strength conditioning world. So on the show, I will occasionally do a solo episode to answer questions, whether it be about the benefits of a cold shower and the cold therapy that you may hear about, or certain supplements. But I also do a lot of interviews. So I'll interview mixed martial art, MMA, fight champions, or I'll interview some of the best strength and conditioning coaches in the world. But I also tap into the hunting aspect. I've interviewed Cuz Strickland, who is an amazing, guy. He's pretty much made television for hunting what it is today. I've got guys like Mike Chandler, who's an MMA champ. Got guys who and that are just some of the best when it comes to health and fitness, but they also love the outdoors. CrossFit champions, strongmen. I've got a wide array of people on there, but the whole point is to share knowledge with everyone to help them be better. And I've always had a problem with like we talked about, the insta famous
Yeah.
people that are always, hey, look at me, look how much I can do. And I always wanted to really highlight other people and make sure that other people know that they can do it. It's not about how much you can lift. It's about, did you lift more or run more than you did yesterday? And so we try to share tips that will help people get better. And it's not all about just, eat sauteed broccoli and not have a good meal, but we're going to share recipes, and we have chefs on. We have all kinds of stuff. So it's a good ramble there of just, there's a lot of good health information when it comes to the outdoors. Anybody that wants to learn more about being healthy, whether it's, from a rehab or just fitness aspect, we cover anything and everything. And I think that if you like the outdoors and you want to be better and healthier, that you will get something out of it throughout the whole podcast that we do.
That's the cool thing about being in outdoors and hunting and stuff is that there's so many like little avenues and little lanes and stuff that you can spend some time in. It could be health, it could be cooking, it could be fitness. There's all kinds of little uh, lanes and different avenues that always circle back to hunting and our passion for being in the outdoors and how all that kind of stuff is interconnected is it's really cool. And that's something that throughout my experience with this Rice Skill Elite podcast has been that same thing. So like today we've spent a lot of time talking about health and that kind of thing, fitness and promoting healthy lifestyles. And but at the same time, me and you, we both love being in the outdoors and hunting. So there's always these I guess these little things, these little topics, little niches that we can spend some time talking about. And that's definitely sounds like what you got going on with the Healthy Hunter podcast. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things also is a lot of the fitness and health folks, if you will, that talk about fitness and health for outdoors, they're based out west.
Hmm.
And a lot of their like, oh yeah, I'm going to go to elk hunt, so I'm going to run up this mountain. I live in Tennessee, 200 feet above sea level. I'm We will share some information on if you're going to go out west, here's some things to do. But we also share about just the everyday hunter. You don't have to be an elite athlete to go out and hunt and to enjoy. But the big thing is encouraging folks just to get a little bit better. And so we don't focus on the extreme side a lot of the hunting. It's more of the day to day, I want to be better focused. And I think that's one thing that makes it different than a lot of the other podcasts when it comes to health and fitness and a hunting aspect is, I mean, I'm living in Tennessee. I'm not in out west. And while it can translate, I think one of the big things is, if you just want to go fish on a bank of a creek, or if you want to sit in a deer stand, there's still ways that we can get better and healthier. And that's one thing that I really focus on when it comes to the podcast.
Yeah, because it's definitely anybody who has drug out a deer knows that physical fitness is definitely something you want to have on your side because
Yes.
those suckers, whenever they are dead weight, holy cow! Some of the rougher experiences I've had with hunting. Because, like I said, I'm here in Kentucky, so I'm right there with you as far as being on this side of the state. We're basically probably 4 hours apart right now from where we are, and some of the craziest things that I've experienced as far as my lack of physical fitness goes comes from, trying to climb up a hill while I'm out doing some running gunning for turkeys, or I'm trying to drag a deer out that has fallen down a hill, 150 yards or whatever it is. And it's not necessarily, going out and doing an elk hunt or whatever it may be. Not that that stuff isn't important. Of course, physical fitness is important for that as well. But there's just the everyday hunter, and especially like the eastern side hunter that is going to have to. It's going to definitely benefit from being healthy and taking care of your body. Because if you take care of your body's going to take care of you. And I think that's anybody who's experienced, being in shape and being physically fit. You know what it's like to have that ability to look at a hill and not automatically start putting doubts in your head, and you're able to it gives you a certain amount of confidence, I guess is what I'm trying to get at, in order to be being physically healthy out in the woods.
Oh yeah. I mean, there are studies that show that just seeing a deer in the woods will get your heart rate to almost a max level.
Hmm.
And it's really a buck fever, and they've measured it where a buck walks up that you would shoot and your heart rate is above what would be calculated as your max heart rate level if you were going in for a stress test. And that's where you're not in shape, this starts happening. That's where we get heart attacks and we get things. And then think about, like you said, dragging that deer out. It's already cold and your blood pressure's, already kind of up and your heart rate's already up. And then you start dragging a deer. That's where we have trouble. And that's one thing I really want people to be able to go out into the woods. But the key is getting back home to those that we love. And I think that's one thing that I really want to help other people do.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. I appreciate you being on. I do have a few closing questions here for you. I always like to ask my guests this, and I've gotten a wide range of answers for this question. I'm really interested in seeing what you have to say about it. But my closing question for you here is, what does hunting mean to you?
Ooh, here we go.
That's
That's
usually the first
yeah.
reaction.
Here we. Oh man. Oh, well, here we go. It's man. That's we talked about it a little bit. You know,
Yeah,
it's been always been a part of me. But as the first word that comes to mind is connection. I think hunting is a connection to the outdoors, to the wild. It's it's my connection to my food. It's the connection to the food the healthy, nutritious food that I consume, that I feed my family. It's a connection to health because it's improving my health and fitness. It's it's a connection to my past. It's a connection to my grandfather and all those that came before me that I've learned from. It's a connection to my dad whenever I get to go hunt and fish with him. It's a connection to my family as I teach my wife and my kids more about hunting and get to go with them. Yeah, I mean, and more importantly than all that, it's a connection to it's a connection to my faith. It's a connection to my heavenly Father to enjoy the creation that the Creator has made just for me. And so I mean, for me, hunting is it's the connection that that I have with every aspect of my life.
absolutely. It sounds like, it's a common theme that we have, that hunting is a lifestyle, and like it's how we live our lives, and it's something that, you know becomes a part of us, and it's something that is, something that we live rather than something that we do. And that sounds like it's what you got going on. And I'm glad you mentioned your faith too, because that's what this, I mean, of course, you probably picked up on it. The Rice Kill Eat podcast is what this show is all about, is, respect, right? Finding God as the creator of everything that we have, and of course having the conversations about that. And that's awesome, man, that you share that with us. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Yeah, my pleasure. I mean, that's I tell people I've got four pillars in my life. I call them the tiller trapezoid, but it's
Tiller pillars.
yeah. It's heaven, and it's my home. It's the family. It's it's my health, and then it's hunting, and it's kind
Yeah,
of in that order. But they each play back and forth into each other. And for me, that's just those four things is what matter. And outside of that, not really much matters.
absolutely, absolutely, man. Well, thanks so much. So, where can listeners, where can they listen to the podcast? Where can they connect with you? And you know, where are you present as far as the cyber world goes?
Yeah, the whole interwebs.
The whole interwebs.
If
Yeah.
if you just look up, if you type in my name, Dr. Dr. Brooks Tiller, if you type that in, my ugly mug is gonna pop up on on there, and you're gonna see me and videos and photos and all that stuff. But my website is Dr. Brooks Tiller, DrBrookstiller, and go there. It's got links to everything. The Healthy Hunter Show, that's going to be, there's links there, but on all the Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and all that stuff, it's at Dr. Brooks Tiller. So I'm pretty, the Lord only made one of me, and I think everybody's grateful for that. I don't know if we could handle any more of that. So, but yeah, just Dr. Brooks Tiller, anywhere you want to go, you're going to find me. And on pretty much anywhere you find podcasts, just wherever you're listening to this one, you look up the Healthy Hunter Show, and it's going to pop up there, and you're going to be able to garner a lot of knowledge from some of the best fitness folks in the world and some of the best outdoorsmen that I've ever been able to meet. And we're going to talk about all kinds of health, hunting, fitness, and as always, we always mix a little faith in there too, because without the good Lord, we don't have any of it. So it's
Absolutely.
all combined.
That's awesome, man. I'll make sure I put all those links in the show notes of the show. That way, people can just click on those. It'll take them right to where you're at. And man, thank you so much for being on the Rice Skill Elite podcast. And on behalf of myself and on behalf of everybody listening, thank you so much for, working in the medical field, especially right now with everything going on. It's, there's all kinds of craziness right now. And we appreciate, everything that you're doing, everything that everybody else is doing in the medical field. So thank you.
Oh man, I'm just doing my part. That's all.
There we go. Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much. And Dr. Brooks Stewart.
Thank you so much, man.